Hello, and you're all very welcome along to another episode of the Gaelic Statsman Podcast. I'm your host, Matthew Hurley, and I'm joined here by Jason Keelan for the Loaf of Bread Gaelic Podcast to discuss this weekend's games in football, hurling, LGFA, camogie, the whole shebang. Obviously, there's a lot of games to get through. It's probably the busiest weekend of the championship yet, with the All-Ireland series starting this weekend with the group stage. You have the Tailteann Cup beginning as well. The hurling is probably a bigger weekend than any other, with the Munster Championship coming to fever pitch. You have the Leinster Championship being probably the most exciting in recent memory, and you have the Joe McDonagh, Christy Ring, Nicky Racker, all them competitions to get through as well. So just before I start the podcast, shout out to our sponsors at Capture Athletics. If you want the best gear around, check them out if you haven't already. And we will move now to the football at the weekend, and there is a lot of action to get through in the football, obviously, and we're going to get on to Galway, Derry, the All-Ireland first, but just to remind our viewers and listeners of Group 1, obviously this is the first weekend of the All-Ireland. You have Galway, Armagh, Derry and Westmeath. Obviously Jason's county there in Westmeath in the group of death. I'm sure Jason would have a lot of opinions on that, but Westmeath are playing next weekend against Armagh. The game this weekend is Galway against Derry, live on GA Go at 5:30 on Saturday evening in Pearse Stadium in Salt Hill. Galway off the back of winning a Connacht title, Derry off the back of losing by 6 points to that Donegal team in that game in Ulster. But there is some arguments that the break might do Derry good. Would you agree with that kind of narrative of that, Jason? Do you think the break would do the likes of Conor Glass, Shane McGuigan, all them players good going into this game?
Oh, I don't know. Like, it's when you're looking for an All-Ireland, you want to be playing regularly enough. Like, it must be nearly a month now since they got beaten. So whereas Galway have had the euphoria of beating Mayo, they've had a lot going on as well. So 3 games played for Galway, Derry 1 defeat, first in 3 years or something in Ulster as well, wasn't it? I think you had a few bits up about that as well. Like, they must be annoyed at where they are, of having had to, sit around watching everyone else going about their business, for the past couple of weeks. I don't think they would have wanted that. I don't think that really would be Mickey Hart's way of looking at it. Yeah, they were beaten, but I'm sure behind the scenes they probably played a few games here and there, but I think they would have liked a bit of a championship standard to be playing against, really, as opposed to challenge games. Well, Denise is from all right.
It's an interesting standpoint, definitely. But we talked about Galway earlier in the hurling, that it's a really, really poor state of affairs at the moment. With the football, it seems to have probably improved as the weeks have gone on. Yes, they struggled against Sligo in that semi-final. Yeah. But against Mayo, once they got their players back, the likes of Damien Comer, the likes of Shane Walsh, it'll be interesting to me where Sean Kelly actually plays with Killy McDay coming back into the team. Will they move him back to full back? It'll be interesting to see on Saturday. But Galway seem to be going along at a nice pace at the moment and could even put it up to Derry at home.
Yeah, they could. Obviously, I think they've played their get out of jail card now against Sligo. I don't think they'll get another one of them. It was great for Gleeson, to score against Mayo at the end. Myself and my friend who were already chatting about the great speech, from Sean Kelly after. And obviously the next thing, as you mentioned about him, is where is he going to be on the field? It's hard to know. I would like to see Derry continue the high press on the kickouts with Lynch coming out. Now, I know it backfired terribly against them, against Donegal, but it made for an interesting game. And I think if Mickey Hart is brave enough, I think he'd go for it again, just to try and rattle a few feathers a little bit and just put Galway under a bit of pressure. There's a few ever reliables, we'll say, Comer, Walsh, Finnerty has been brilliant. Galway just needs, they're ticking along is probably what you said is probably the best way to describe them. They're not, even though Mayo is brilliant, they're not pulling up trees or anything like Sligo was fortunate. And maybe this is now where they will just kick things into gear. And obviously, as I said, as a Westmeath person, there's a lot of interest in this one. We're a bit disappointed in Westmeath because we wanted, our hope was just give us different teams. And we ended up getting Galway and Armagh. Instead of Tyrone, we just got Derry. So it's essentially the same as last year, nothing new. But I think Galway will go into this slightly better off than Derry with the games under their belts already.
Is there an element from a Galway standpoint that there was a sense last year that Galway were moving along nicely, going into the All-Ireland group stage. And then by the Westmeath game, they seemed to be going well as well. And then the Armagh game happened, and then they lost to Mayo and they were out of the championship just like that. Do you feel Galway are timing their run right at this stage of the season when they perform well against Mayo? Because obviously the league, they nearly went down. They performed poorly in that game. Against Sligo, they struggled. Against Mayo, they started to pick up form again. Do you think Galway are timing the run right going to the All-Ireland this year?
Probably, if they can keep the standard up. It's all well and good thinking, we'll chug on by Sligo and we'll, be great to beat Mayo, and the way they won it was brilliant. All it takes is for one derailment and suddenly, you're asking questions about, was it all right? Should we have hammered Sligo in the first place? Or there's a lot of things. They need to keep the standard up. They need to keep lads fit and not injured, because Damien Comer gets injured again, they become a different team in attack. I don't think there's the same potency, the same sort of, physical attitude that he brings. Obviously, he's built like a tank. So, and you need a bit of that to complement, the deft kicking of Walsh and great play of Finnerty and all that as well. So, yeah, they are timing it as probably best as they can. They beat Sligo, which was fine. They avoided the headlines of the shock and everything else. So I think, they could time it well. But as I said, they really need to, they just need to make sure that they keep going, don't get lads injured, keep playing, good football. And they'll hopefully get through their first couple of games, I'd say.
Definitely so. And Denise has another comment in here. They didn't really shoot the lights out against Mayo, just managed the closing stages better than Mayo did all along, with an element of luck. To be honest, Denise, I'd actually disagree. Galway had a 69% shot accuracy. They did really well in that game, I thought. They deserved to win that game. So maybe there was an element of luck and things like that, but Galway definitely deserved their win and deserved their flowers that day. But just before we get on to a prediction, you mentioned it there about Oran Lynch coming off his line, and you would want to see Derry do that again. The question is, will Mickey Hart do this again? Because it massively backfired for not one, not two, but 3 goals against Donegal. Surely Mickey Hart has to learn his lesson. Surely to not do it again. But obviously, you think differently. You want him to do it again.
Oh, yeah, just as a semi-neutral, I suppose, in the game. Yeah, it's just the entertainment factor alone is brilliant. I know Darragh Boyle had a field day, with the goals against him, but there's something very enjoyable about it. There's something risky about it. Maybe Mickey Hart tries it, but learns from where did it go wrong? It went wrong against Donegal because when the kickouts were lost, there was no real reaction from the other players around. While Lynch is bursting himself to get back to the goals, the other lads are kind of trailing back as well, and nobody has gone out to actually try and just slow them down a little bit. It was, I don't know, it was a bizarre kind of game, but yeah, I would like to see Derry continue to try it. Like, they are a mixed team of, age and youth, so there's no reason they couldn't give it a go again. Just because it doesn't work once or it backfires once doesn't mean you abandon it and not try and figure out why it went wrong. It went wrong because it wasn't just the goalkeeper's fault. He'll take the headlines, flapping at the ball over his head as it's going over him, but it's the other guys around who didn't really stand up, and tactically that has to be part of it. It can't just be, let's bring out Lynch to midfield for a big massive kick out, hope he wins it looks deadly, and the other 14 lads will stand around and watch him do it. Like, it has to be part of a team thing. I do think Galway could get at Chrissy McCaig a little bit. As much as I love him, and he was a great, one of my first ever podcast guests, he was an absolute gent. I don't know, is it just he looks a little bit like he could be got at a bit more than in previous years, where I thought you would want to get a train to drive through him to get him out of the way. Whereas now, I don't know, lads are just seem to be just have that step on him. I don't know, is it just age or something? But I think Galway could find a bit more joy against Derry than maybe people think. I think there's a bit more for the nifty forward against Derry than maybe in the past. So yeah, I know you're doing your predictions, and I'm gonna not just because I'm staying in a Galway person's house here or I'd be kicked out, but I think Galway could win it.
I'm actually going to go for a draw here. I think it could be a very tight game, and it might be a bit of a cop-out. Definitely, the East went back as my comment about Mayo Galway being luck related. In luck in relation to getting winning score at the last minute via place ball,
No.
leaving.
They had a chance to respond, and they shanked the ball very far wide. They had a good 90 seconds after that. And O'Connor, I think, wasn't it, from long range, just decided, I've had enough of this, I'm going to drive with the outside of my foot, and shanked it wide. So, bit of patience, and they might have leveled it, who knows.
Definitely so, and we'll get on to Mayo in a bit. But for this game, Jason is predicting Galway to win. I'm going to go for a draw. We'll have to see what happens in that. One game that probably is probably safe enough to call is Kerry against Monaghan on Saturday at 3 p.m. live on Go, just to bring up the group for the two teams here. So Kerry are the group with Monaghan, Louth and Meath. So Kerry should win this group with much ease, to be honest with you. But like Kerry Monaghan, do you expect Monaghan to put up a test here at Killarney, or do you think Kerry will win this easily?
No, I think Monaghan I think Vinnie Corey has found it hard going since that Cavan defeat. I think that was a real sickener to lose in the way they did. I know Pádraig Faulkner, I know, was excellent for Cavan that day, but it would be a Monaghan's thing to come back and actually put up a good performance. I don't think all the begging stuff at the NFL and Carolina and all that, I don't think it really helps too much. I know they say, it's deflecting away from the rest of the team, but really it's not. I don't think it's doing them any good. Kerry are not firing on all cylinders yet and are still going fine. Love Joe O'Connor around midfield. I think he's brilliant. I'd love to see him continue to keep going the way he's going. I love the great thing about Kerry midfielders of the past. I love David Moore and all them were brilliant. Joe O'Connor's a great midfielder as well. I think Kerry have far too much here. If either of the Cliffords decide to turn up and play, I think Kerry will win comfortably enough.
I'll probably go for a Kerry win as well. But just a question in relation to Kerry's group in general, Meath, Louth, Monaghan. Do you think this group will help Kerry gain a bit of confidence, or potentially could it go the other way, that when they get to Croke Park and face a Galway, a Mayo, a Derry, that they fall asunder in Croke Park? Do you think the opponents of the group will help Kerry much in this All-Ireland campaign?
There's probably a yes and a no to it, as in they would be looking at that and thinking, well, that's 3 wins out of 3 if we play to 7 out of 10. Whereas Louth could be the game that is interesting. Like, Ger Brennan knows Kerry football from all his experience playing against them. So, and he showed he knows Dublin football, in Croke Park the last day as well. And Louth were worthy opponents, of Dublin. So I think if Kerry stroll past Monaghan, I think they'll also stroll past Meath. As much as I do appreciate all that Colin O'Rourke is doing with Meath, Louth might be their only test. And yeah, as you say, when it comes to crunch time, have they had the challenges that they wanted? Well, you could look at it every year and say that really, like bar Cork in Munster, they don't end up getting a huge amount of tests generally until it comes to the big time. So it's probably nothing new for them, really. They're still going to be thereabouts at the end. I don't think it's going to affect them either way. They're still Kerry at the end of the day. Jack O'Connor he's no Egypt, like he knows exactly what he's doing. So yeah, no, I think they'll be okay. I think they'll be fine.
Yeah, Denise, another comment in here. Louth is going to be really Kerry's only test. Monaghan might be if Rory Began is back too, and she adds on, I don't really follow NFL. But just on Monaghan for a bit, like Darren Hughes obviously got a massive injury against Cavan. Hopefully he recovers soon, but I think that might be the last we've seen of Darren Hughes in a Monaghan shirt. Kieran Hughes is retired in the off-season as well. Conor McManus isn't getting any younger. Rory Began, what's the story with him? Is he going to the States or not? There's a bit of up in the air with that, and Vinnie Corey seemed to have struggled with this team in the league and the championship as well. So is this kind of the end for Monaghan when you look at even not just at the championship this season, but even looking further into the next few seasons, even in Division 2 next year? Would they find it hard to even get back up against the top teams in the country?
Yeah, probably. It's probably that most teams go through that transition part, they call it, isn't it? That takes a while, and for a county that isn't overly blessed with a massive amount of clubs to choose from, it's probably a longer transition again. I think the Vinnie Corey the Cavan game probably annoyed him a little bit more because it was like a Corey versus Galligan, head-to-head type thing in a different sense as managers, and you probably really wanted to get one over on him just for, it's been like the newbies in some ways, so it's probably deflated Monaghan a bit. The begging thing doesn't help. McManus, as you said, like nobody stepped up to replace him, or there's no sign of anyone replacing him really yet. So yeah, this could be the end of the road for this Monaghan team, and maybe there's a change to come in the next couple of years.
Well, they've been a great county, and they've been one of the best. Yeah, they've been the best county for lower level counties, if you like, throughout the history. In fairness, and you'd hopefully they will recover in the next few years after this season. But we're both predicting a Kerry win in this game. We're moving on to Group 3 next. So Donegal and Tyrone will play next weekend. Clare against Cork is up against each other this weekend. That is the group in Group 3. And this game, Clare against Cork in Ennis on Saturday at 6 p.m. It isn't live anywhere, but I will be going to the game, so stats on this game on the way on Saturday evening. But this is a crucial game for both sides. Whoever loses this, in my opinion anyway, I think you might think the same, Jason, is out of the championship. So It's a big game for both.
Yeah, and I was fortunate supposed to see Clare in the league when they came to Mullingar. One of the most bizarre games of football I think I've ever been at, because the wind was so insane that the Clare midfielders were kicking, I won't say kicking, they were chipping 50-yard shots 20 yards over the bar in the first half, and they kicked 7 or 8 very easily. Like they have a decent enough team. Gavin Murray, of course, is a Westmeath man originally from Moat here in Westmeath, who's transferred down and is playing with Clare for the past couple of years as well. And then Icahn obviously getting his first score and his first goal there the last day as well, making good headlines too. Plenty of potential for Clare. You probably would know a lot more than me on the Cork side. Like I would still associate Cork equals Brian Hurley, and I'm still, maybe it's just me and I probably don't see enough of them or know enough of them, but to me it just seems like there's still an over-reliance on some of the eternal names of Cork, or is maybe that you probably know, is that a bit unfair maybe?
I honestly think Conor Corbett and Chris O'Jones are better threats than Brian Hurley. That's just my honest opinion. I just think both of them, like Chris O'Jones is one of the top scorers on play across championship and league. Conor Corbett adds something different, and there's rumours he's going down to AFL and things like that. Hopefully he stays as long as he can. Colm O'Callaghan in midfield is a very good midfielder. There's no kind of doubt with Cork once they come up against a Tyrone, a Donegal, a Dublin, a Kerry, that they will put it up to them for 70 minutes of the game. There is a doubt in Cork with inconsistency, and you see this in the league. They lost to Cavan, they lost to Louth, and I feel like they could lose this game against Clare as well, unless they sense the danger. This is going to be a big game for them. If they lose this, then Donegal and Tyrone are going to be difficult games after that. So it's a big game for Cork, big game for Clare as well, because after this they go to Omagh to face Tyrone. So you feel like, again, like loser is gone nearly.
Yeah, you made hard work of, am I right? Was that Limerick in Munster that you were behind or level at half time or something? Like Cork traditionally don't make these easier, in inverted commas, games, as you said, easier on themselves. But if they did come up against Kerry or Dublin or someone, they'll be in it till the end. So yeah, like I haven't seen Clare and I haven't seen how they can play. I'm trying to think of the midfield. Is it Bohannon?
Bohannon and I'm trying to think of the other midfield. Brian McNamara, the under-20, is there now this year.
Yeah, Dara Bohannon was very, very impressive. I remember the couple of times I saw him. And maybe like I am leaning a little bit towards Clare purely on, I don't feel like I'm expert enough to comment on Cork because I don't get to see a whole lot of them, and I know Clare more because I've got to see them at home and everything. But Clare do impress me when they get going. They should have beaten Westmeath in the league, and they still claim to have been robbed with that disallowed goal in the last minute, even though it actually was a free out. But anyway, I still think Clare, they look good. Like there was nothing wrong with them against Kerry either. Kerry were in for a second gear, but Clare kept going at them, which I kind of like. So maybe Clare, like by a hair, possibly.
That's interesting because I think Clare will win this game. You think it. Aaron Prendergast from Gaelic Games Fan TV also thinks it as well. So that's 3 that actually say Clare over Cork, which I didn't think would be the case. But there you go. I think Clare did very well in that Munster final against Kerry as well. Kept it to single digits. Like, as you mentioned, Ike Muguaru's brilliant goal as well. Nice to see him get his first score. Dermot Coughlin at centre forward, I was really impressed with him against Kerry.
Didn't think of him at all,
Emil McMahon at corner forward. Aaron Griffin scored a lot from play. So Clare do have a lot of young buzzing players in this team. And let's not forget, they did lose the 11 experienced lads plus their manager, Colin Collins. So Mark Fitzgerald deserves a lot of credit for even Clare be talked about by pundits or whatnot to even go on and win this game in the All-Ireland series.
They'd be happy enough if nobody talked about them. Like, you want, if it is, we're talking about like teams in transition like Monaghan, if they're a team in transition, which technically they will be, I suppose, in a managerial and player change, that you want as little limelight as possible for a while. And then if things start to go good, you're happy enough and you've gotten used to it. But they'd be quite happy to get into a Munster final and be beaten by Kerry, and everyone just goes, Kerry won again. That's it, grand. And, Icon gets all the plaudits, for his brilliant goal or whatever, and gets all the TikTok clips, but that'll do fine. They'll plod along. And I know Aaron said it as well, you were saying, and I've predicted a lot of bad things on with Aaron before, but I think Clare could be the one here.
I think so as well. I think Clare will win this game just slightly in Ennis, and it will be a tight one to call. Obviously, in Ennis last year in the championship, Clare did beat Cork down to a last-minute point from Killian Rowan. So, I think this will be a difficult game for Cork. And obviously, I'm going to go for a Clare win in this one as well. And the last group going to be discussed in the first match day is Group 2. Dublin, Mayo, Roscommon and Cavan. We have to wait for the Dubs next weekend. This weekend, it is our old friends in Mayo. They're up against Cavan this weekend in Castlebar at 5 p.m. on Saturday evening. But I think the main story out of this is, from a Mayo standpoint, they have to win this game to, challenge Dublin in the last group game. And for a Cavan standpoint, how big of a loss is Paddy Lynch going to be? Obviously, your heart goes out to him. ACL injury. It's just a tough one for him to take. Definitely.
Yeah, it was going to be hard enough with Paddy Lynch. It seems pretty impossible without him. He's going so well too, and so well loved up there. He's a Crisher Law man up in Cavan. Like, he was, as I said, they really needed him to have any hope. Now they need everyone to be at 110% to have any hope at all. Mayo, I think you probably know better, but I can only remember them conceding the goals in New York. I don't think they didn't concede any against Galway. I don't think they did that before that. So if you're going to need goals to beat Mayo, they're going to be hard to come by. And Mayo's defence are fairly rigid defensively, but are also very good going forward. So Matthew Rowan, if he's doing well for Mayo, then Cavan or Goost. I'd be surprised. Just trying to think of what's Mayo's backline. Brickenden, Callanan,
Jack Coyne probably.
Like they should have more than enough to hold Cavan. So, like, this is, I think, only going comfortably to Mayo.
Yeah, I think so as well. And from a Mayo standpoint, it is important for them to get a win after that defeat against Galway, where they were poor enough in that game, and Galway deserved to win, no doubt about it. So Mayo need to get a win, and I'm sure they will. It should be a comfortable game against Cavan. But then again, look at the side we are talking about. Mayo, a lot of Mayo fans even say to, like, I have a friend in college who is a Mayo fan, obviously, and he's always saying to me, Mayo play against the team, the level of the team they're playing against. And could this be the case on Saturday?
That's a good way of putting it, actually. I'd be surprised. Like, maybe they will play to a lesser gear, but they should still comfortably come through this. Like, they should be able to rotate and bring on plenty of the bench and, build your squad for the next couple of games. This should be the one that they stroll through. Realistically, I'd be surprised if it was anything else.
Yeah, I think Mayo should win this comfortably as well, but Cavan may put up a test. We'll have to see. on Sunday. There is Tailteann Cup to come, but before that, we'll get on to the under-20 All-Ireland football final, and it is Tyrone against Kerry. It's a big game, no doubt about it. Tyrone beat Roscommon in the semi-final last weekend by 10 points. Kerry beat Meath by a singular point in Thurles. Should be a very interesting game, no doubt about it. Just wanted to bring up some stats and journey to the final for both sides. So for Tyrone, they beat Antrim by an absolute cricket score there, 8 goals and 16 points to 7 points. They drew against Down, beat Derry by a point, hammered Monaghan, scoring 5 goals along the way in that, beat Monaghan by a point in the semi-final, and then beat Derry on penalties in the Ulster final. And obviously that win over Roscommon, which was absolutely credible from a Tyrone point of view. They've averaged a score rate of 314 per game, and average a concession rate of 110 per game. You look at Tyrone scores, the main guy up the top, Owen McElhone, 5 goals and 11 points in this campaign, and he has done well for Oma CBS at the Hogan Cup at schools level as well, so definitely want to watch this Sunday. Conor Owens has done well as well with 2 goals and 14 points. Rory McCullough with 2 goals and 11. Cormac Devlin, 3 goals and 6. Ronan Cassidy, 14 points. Shea O'Hare from wing back with 2 goals and 6 points as well has done absolutely brilliant. Then Owen Brawley, the other wing back. I don't know, is he related to Joe Brawley, but maybe Jason will know something about that. We'll have to see about that. But we'll move on to Kerry's scores and stats for their run to the final. So their journey, they beat Clare, Cork, Tipperary, and Cork again. They beat Cork by 6 points in that Munster final and beat Meath by a point. They've averaged a score rate of 113 per game and averaged a concession rate of 10 points. Onto their scores, and the key scorer here is Cormac Dillon with 1 goal at 26 points. Tomas Kennedy with 2 goals along the way in this run. Luke Crowley with 8 points, and worth noting as well, Luke Crowley will play in the Joe McDonough Cup game hurlers against Offaly on the Saturday, and will play in this under-20 final on the Sunday. So very interesting to hear that. And they do have some brilliant players all over the field, the likes of Daniel Kirby, Charlie Keating, and Garrod Evans. So look at stats there, Jason. It looks like Tyrone probably have the upper hand in this, but Kerry are never going to go down lightly, especially in under-20 finals.
Yeah, Oren Brawley, I don't know if he's actually related to Joe. I thought there would be more made of it if he was related to Joe, to be honest. So maybe he isn't. Tyrone, I know you were showing the list of scores and stuff there. The other thing that kind of stood out to me was in their games is the raft of different scores you pointed out. Shea, they're obviously a cornerback as well. In all their games, the fewest number of scores they've had is 7. And the most they've had is 14 different scores in a game, which that's outrageous. That's essentially everyone bar your goalkeeper scoring, in a game, which is phenomenal. Kerry have a big reliance on young Cormac Dillon as well, and it kind of feels like one of those games where if Tyrone stop him, Tyrone will win the game. If Tyrone don't stop him, Kerry might win the game. But it probably, I would say, could be the game of the weekend. Underage football finals tend to be brilliant. So I think Tyrone are hard to look past with that amount of scoring potential from 2 to 15 on the bench. I can only see them winning, which I wouldn't be a bad thing either. I think it's great to see that so many talented players, so many talented scorers coming through as well. It's great for the game rather than looking at a team who are just shutting out 9-8 and 7-6 games. They're actually just hammering teams and putting up big scores, which is exactly what we want. So Tyrone, I think, to win that one.
I think Tyrone will win this game as well, and especially the fact they beat Roscommon last weekend by 10 points. That was an incredible win, and considering Roscommon beat Galway quite comprehensively in that Connacht final, I think that was an incredible scoreline to put up from a Tyrone point of view. 318 inside 60 minutes. 21 scores in 60 minutes. It's unreal. It really is. And one star of the show that I want to talk about, Jason, I don't know, do you know much about it, but Owen McElhone at centre forward. This guy seems to be the new star boy. It was Rory Canavan a few years ago. It was Darragh Canavan a few years beforehand. Could we see the next big great coming up in Tyrone? Because this guy has it all. By the looks of schools level, minor level, under 20 level, he looks absolutely incredible.
Yeah, and if he joins up in senior with a couple of other young stars that you mentioned as well, what a formidable forward line that would be to come up against. Like, there's plenty of potential in that Tyrone team to progress. Now, I know it doesn't always, they always say, it's great, can't wait till these lads get senior, and then suddenly it just falls apart, like that Roscommon underage team years ago as well, that just didn't really materialise. So, but he seems to be some kind of wizard, whatever it is that he's doing or whatever he's eating for breakfast, because he's just scoring for fun. I think that 5'11" you showed, is it all from play possibly, or the majority of it is from play? Like
it's all from play.
Yeah, that's outrageous. Like, and their average scoring of 314 a game, like, and he contributes so much of that. So yeah, hopefully one for the future. Hopefully someone to like rival Clifford and rival the Dubs and stuff, might bring Tyrone football on another level
from
in the future.
Owen McElhone. Yeah, it's incredible. It's an incredible tally, and definitely one to watch. Definitely on Sunday, once the final comes, Moore Park and Portlaoise and Tyrone should be favourites going into that game. And we'll move on to the Tailteann Cup now and move on with groups. So in Group 1, we have Waterford against Kildare in Fraherfield in Dungarvan at 5 p.m. on Saturday evening, and Longford against Leitrim in Glen Brothers Pierce Park at 2:30 on Sunday afternoon. So, like, you would expect Kildare to beat Waterford. I think that goes without saying. Yeah. But Longford Leitrim could be a tough game to call.
Two relatively poor sides. My cousin has left the Longford panel this season. I'm not sure if Paddy Christie is the most popular man in Longford these days. I was joking with my uncle the last day. I said that he should stick his name in for the Longford job soon enough. So they're just they're not having a great season, Longford. And I used to like going to watch them, especially obviously when my cousin was playing. It was really good, and at times they were a very fast, free-flowing team. They had all the Mullinyock lads in there as well, and they were going good, but they're just, I don't know, they're falling a bit by the wayside these days, which is kind of disappointing for them, especially for a county, who really, they could do with a bit of a boost, on the football field like that. Leitrim, Andy Moore has kind of gone out of the headlines a lot, lately. We're always expecting his name to be kind of in or around the newspaper somewhere, but Leitrim kind of just disappeared off the face of the earth a little bit. So two teams that could probably really do with a win of any kind by the 1 point margin or whatever. But I think Leitrim might just beat Longford, which I don't like saying it because I have big love for Longford, but I think Leitrim will beat them. I think Longford are not in a great place at the moment.
Yeah, it's an interesting standpoint, definitely. I would have predicted Longford to win this game, especially at home. But now you mentioned a few things about Longford there. I don't know.
I just know that from, like, my cousin doesn't, isn't involved in the setup anymore, but I still know a few of them on it, and it just doesn't seem to have the same, desire and hunger and whatever else. So it's just, I don't know, it seems it's a bit like us in some ways. It's gone a little bit flat. So maybe they will win. It'll be the kickstart they need. But at the moment, if you're to go by how things are, you'd have to say Leitrim are probably slight favourites.
I'm going to stick with my prediction. I'm going to go for Longford just to stick with it there. But it should be an interesting one to call. Definitely, we're both predicting Kildare to beat Waterford. Moving on to Group 2, Wexford against Antrim on Saturday at 4 p.m. and Tipperary against Sligo on Saturday at 2 p.m. I assume we're both picking Sligo for the latter game there. But for the former game, Wexford against Antrim, could be a tight one to call this, especially with Wexford being at home in Wexford Park. So, and Wexford being on good form themselves, pushing Sligo a bit in that last round game. So Wexford could really put it up to Antrim here.
Yeah, you'd probably expect them to put it up a little bit. Like if you're going to get, on a bit of a run, you need to keep it going, because they're not blessed with the footballers of 2004 year of when I would have been watching them play against Westmeath all the time, and they were a really tough team to beat. They don't have those Matty Fords and the likes anymore. So you take whatever slim positives that you can, and at the moment they're not doing too bad. I don't know if they beat Antrim. Antrim coming down the coast, though, I suppose it's not a nice journey to have to come all the way down for a game, and that could affect them. But I think I'll go for a draw in this one.
I'm going to go for Wexford. It should be a very interesting game, no doubt about it. But a draw is a decent prediction as well. We'll have to see how that plays out. Into the Group 3 games this weekend, it is Carlow against Fermanagh on Saturday at 3 p.m. in Netwatch Cullen Park, and Wicklow against Laois, live and J go at 3 p.m. in Aughrim. I don't know about you, Jason, but I sense a Wicklow win here, especially a fortress like Aughrim here. So could Wicklow do it?
I hate Wicklow. after how we fell apart against them, I haven't gotten over that. Oisin McConville drives me mad as well. But yeah, I fancy a Wicklow win. Again, things aren't flying spectacularly down in Laois, from what the family down there sort of mentioned a little bit. Port Arlington lads not firing on all guns. Port Laois lads, yeah, sort of here and there. It's not flying for Laois either, so it's the perfect thing for McConville to tap into. And yeah, Fortress Aughrim, as they say. So yeah, I'll probably go with a Wicklow win here as well.
And for the other game, Carlow and Fermanagh. Team Carlow put up a tester. Fermanagh, they scored 3 goals and 16 points last weekend against Wicklow. So Fermanagh looking serious form in this competition.
Fermanagh should have too much, like, even from playing the game in Ulster, like, it should be enough to get you started for the season. And Carlow, I don't think will have enough to get close to them. I think a comfortable Fermanagh win.
Yeah, I think Fermanagh should win this game as well. And moving on to Group 4, Limerick against Offaly on Saturday at 3 p.m. and London against Down on Saturday at 6 p.m. Yes, you would imagine that Down will beat London. Down are one of the favourites for this competition. But moving back to Limerick and Offaly, how on earth did Offaly lose by 14 points to London last week? I actually don't know how on earth that happened with Offaly having such young talent there. And is there a question mark that it could even go to Limerick this weekend and lose that too? So if Offaly were to lose this weekend, it'd be a disaster for Declan Kelly's team.
Yeah, it would. I know we were saying obviously Limerick had you guys, I think, level or whatever, or close enough at half time in Munster. So, like, they know they can play a bit of football. Stunned by Offaly last week. I was texting Michael Maher, the London manager, as well, and you could sense the buzz of, his messages as well, like a first championship win in 11 odd years or something they were saying. So I was thrilled for them, but I was equally stunned by how out of it Offaly were. Like, they were just, it's baffling in many ways, like, for a team who, all the Lowry and Michael Dygan, all the stuff, it's going on in the background, and how Offaly were about to become a force again, and then to go and get mauled by London was just astonishing. It'll probably not really be remembered as much, but like, if you're doing a review at the end of the year, you'd put it down as like one of the stunning scores of the season, like, because it was just so bizarre, and yet gets no real publicity because it's considered kind of nothing for either, really. Limerick could do something against Offaly. I don't know if I'd go as far as to say they'd beat them. Although when a team is flat on their face like Offaly are, what better time for Limerick to take the scalp than when they come down to visit? So I don't know. I'm torn on that one. I think London could do all right against Down. And the other one, funnily enough, like, I don't think they'll win. I'm a bit like caught in both of these. I think Limerick and Offaly, that Limerick could win, Offaly could win. London and Down might be close. I think Down will win it. Just Limerick and Offaly, I can't actually call. I don't know. I'd probably just say draw then in that case. But like, what's stopping Limerick from beating them? Like, there's nothing stopping Limerick. They've nothing to lose. All the pressure's on Offaly. So go for Limerick. Why not? Why not? I've no pass with Limerick winning that one. So it'll quieten down the SNA that I work with in school as well. She's mad Offaly, so it'll quieten her down a bit.
Exactly. Yeah. I'd probably go for Limerick win as well. And the thing is, Limerick, I think, are on a losing streak of 14 or 15 games across league and championship. So what a way to stop it if it was this weekend. So I think they could do it. I think they genuinely could do it. So Limerick could beat Offaly in that game. And just before we get on to the LGFA, you think London will put it up to Down? Like, Down are one of the favourites for the competition here.
Yeah, just when you have to go over to London, I don't know. I just don't know if that changes the team's mentality a little bit. Like, obviously, the sort of form book in history would tell you after you've had a fantastic win as a small team, you tend to get hammered the next day because you've been on such a buzz and you've forgotten actually how to do things. It's probably more my heart is saying I'd love to see London put it up to down and they might do well. If I was to sit down and actually think about it, I'd probably sit it down and probably win by about 15 points. But maybe it's just the heart in me just wants to see London keep going, because I know the work that Michael Maher puts in over there, like, and the lads seem to be really buying into it the last number of years, and he's a lovely guy and he cares so much about that team that it'd be nice for him to get another sort of, it mightn't be a win, but maybe just a performance to follow up on what they had. So yeah, look, it's very much a head versus heart type thing where I want one thing and the reality is probably it's never going to happen, but it's still worth a shot, hopefully.
See how they get on Saturday anyway. The London footballers against Down. Before we end the podcast here, we'll go out to the Cedar LGFA Finals at provincial level. So Cork against Kerry is one of them on Saturday at 4 p.m. live at the TG Car YouTube channel. This final, Kerry are obviously favourites going into with the likes of Louise Devore-Hurtig, the likes of Emma Deneen, who's in brilliant form at the moment as well. You have other players like Hannah O'Donoghue, who and Kerry were the league finalists for a reason, All Ireland finalists for a reason. Cork haven't done too badly in the championship. They lost to Kerry slightly so in the Munster Championship. They did beat Waterford and Tipperary by a point from the last game, but they are still in this Munster final. So, and Cork do have a lot of turnaround of players. Obviously, Doireann O'Sullivan retiring, Ciara O'Sullivan, Roisin Field, and all them type of players, or the Finn or Farmer over the last few seasons. But younger players have stepped in, like Abigail Ring, Lydia McDonough, obviously still a Katie Quirk there as well. So I think Kerry are probably going in as favourites for this, but Cork will not lie down, surely.
Yeah, Kerry will win, I would say, for the, as you mentioned, the retirees from Cork, the replacements, the new ones who've kind of come through. It'll be a good learning curve for them to take on Kerry in a final. But I think Kerry just have too much. Like, they're going to be thereabouts at the end of what they call the business end of the season. Again, and I can't see anything other than, Louise probably scoring more than the Cork team, probably, herself. She could have one of those days. So, a Kerry win, definitely. I have to give a shout as well. I know we've gone past the football. Westmeath are in an All-Ireland final as well this weekend in the under-20B final against Down. So I'll be going to that one. So hopefully we'll win that one. So, but yeah, definitely Kerry in the ladies football, I would say.
Yeah, I would say Kerry as well. Best of luck to Westmeath in that B final. I think in the same venue, is it the Westmeath ladies footballers are playing this weekend against Wexford as well?
I can't remember. We were in the same venue. I know Westmeath and Wexford is at 5:30. There was a triple header, I think, this weekend. So,
I think is it the under-20 final and then the two LGFA junior and intermediate?
Yeah, something like that. I knew our ladies were moved to 5:30 for a triple header. So, but yeah, Westmeath Down is in Navan. Actually, we're going to Tailteann for that one. So, hopefully, it'd be nice to get a victory under the belt. They haven't had a great season generally, so it's nice to finish on a high.
Definitely, so it'll be brilliant if Westmeath won that game. And just on the LGFA, although we don't talk about intermediate junior much, but seeing as we have a Westmeath guy on the podcast right now, Westmeath against Wexford to the intermediate, would you be confident in a Westmeath win there?
Yeah, like, very strong team. Frank Brown from Mayo's come in along with Dermot Power, who I know well, and they had a couple of sticky kind of games already. There was a game in St. Lomas there the last day where I actually was reporting on it. I had the score different. I had them down as having won by a point, but it turns out one of them was disallowed that I didn't know about. So it was a draw, which sort of, yeah, I think they're strong enough to win. It just very much depends on the day. Like, realistically, on paper, they have an incredibly strong, fast, athletic, very physical team as well. It doesn't always translate on the pitch, but maybe just with Frank having come in and Dermot and changing a few things, it probably needs a little bit of time to bed in. They were kind of steamrolled a little bit in a couple of their early games, particularly in the first half where they just weren't awake. So hopefully, they'll get the job done against Wexford. It'd be great for Frank and Dermot and for Lauren, the goalkeeper, who's the captain, and all the girls. So be hoping they get on well.
Exactly. So, in the last game of the weekend is the LGFA senior final between Armagh and Donegal, and the Ulster final at 3:30 on Sunday, live on TGR YouTube channel and BBC iPlayer as well for Northern Ireland viewers. So this should be an interesting final, considering Armagh have Amy Mackin in the former life at the moment. They've won nearly every game in Division 1. They only lost one to Dublin by a cricket score, but they were playing nearly a second or third team in that game, so you couldn't read too much into it. Lord McConville obviously winning Player of the Month, the GPA Player of the Month as well. Armagh are on a high at this present moment in time under Shane McCormick, and it's going to be impossible to see how Donegal actually stop this juggernaut, which is Armagh at the moment. And maybe the main question from an Armagh point of view, could they win the All-Ireland this year?
Yeah, and I've been fortunate in the past maybe 6-7 months to have commentated on quite a few of the Armagh girls in the college football, and it's where I saw firsthand a number of them, and I was kind of blown away by how pacey they were. I wasn't expecting them to sort of be as direct and as physical in some ways that they were. And then obviously you've got Amy, who's just like one of the best around, one of the best probably has ever played. So Donegal are going to have serious work to try and stop them from winning. I think Armagh will win. And if it was a few years ago, it probably would have been the other way. I probably would have said Donegal would probably be the favourites. But Armagh have just come through the ranks as brilliant. They're absolutely fantastic to watch. College team are brilliant. So I enjoyed commentating on so many of them this year as well. And yeah, I think All Ireland, yeah, why not? Like, there's no reason they can't be there. Whether they win it, another question, but they'll be thereabouts for sure.
Definitely will be. I'll probably say if Armagh to win that game against Donegal, and they'll definitely put it up to Dublin and Kerry later on down the season. There's no doubt about it. So that is all football, hurling, everything, the whole shebang in 1 hour and 50 minutes on the clock there. So that's a long time. So I think we need a break from talking about it all. So give the video a like, subscribe, all that good stuff on Spotify, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all them social media platforms. Obviously follow Jason's podcast, the Loaf of Bread Podcast, on Instagram, whatever he's on, Twitter, TikTok as well. And all social media, all podcasting platforms as well. And until the next time, lads, and thanks to Capture Linux for sponsoring today's show as well. And until the next time, lads, we'll see you all the next episode, and take care.